Hello, friends. Yes, this is the continuation of our change of subject, lesson 6. Was it lesson 6 or lesson 5? Lesson 5, eh? Okay. Right, let's see. Well, that's where we are. That's where we are. So if we look at our, you know, the change of subject that we're supposed to do, we have KE. This one. That says K dot E is equals to half M V squared. And then we're supposed to make V the subject and also make M the subject. So without wasting time, let's set the ball rolling. Okay? Alright. So our question, okay, on tag that we're supposed to work on says KE is equals to half M V squared. Okay, so we are going to make M the subject, M the subject of the formula, M the subject. Okay, so what do? Let's look at it. If we look, I've always said when you have a question of this sort, every change of subject you have to analyze it. So first of all, so we have a K dot E is equals to half M V squared. So our understanding is the M is multiplying half and is multiplying V squared. Alright? Now, because we want to make M the subject, it would be advisable for us to get rid of the fraction, which is the half over there. So by so doing, we have to get rid of this. Okay? It's dividing. So meaning when you multiply both sides, or we multiply through by 2, then we can get rid of it. So we say multiply multiply through by 2. So that our equation is now going to be, so KE half M V squared. So we're going to multiply here and multiply here by 2. So when I do that, multiply here by 2, multiply here by 2. Straight on. You see, you realize that we can cancel the halves. So this will give us a mega implication that our equation is now 2K dot E is equals to M V squared. So what do we do again? Also, we know that M is still multiplying V. Okay, friends? Since M is multiplying V squared, we have to get rid of the V squared on over there for M to stand on its own. As you can see, so that this one can stand, M can stand on its own. Since V squared is multiplying M, meaning if we want to get rid of that, we have to divide both sides by V squared. So we say divide both sides. So divide both sides by V squared. You see, friends? Let's look at it once again. So we have 2K E is equals to MV squared. So we are going to divide here by V squared and here by V squared. Okay, so let's try and do that. So I divide here by V squared. Why? Because in every equation, what I do to the left, I have to do to the right. So now we can see that V squared can cancel each other. This will cancel that. Therefore, okay, implies our 2KE over V squared is now equals to what? M. So we have made the M the subject as simple as easy. Okay, as you can see, m is now the subject of our equation. All right. Okay, so what about now we want to make v the subject? Friends, let's go back and see how we can make also the v the subject. Let's look at our equation once again. Okay, so to make the v the subject of the equation, okay, of the same equation, we know that k dot e is equals to half mv squared. Okay, and as at a certain point we multiply through by 2, and our equation, as you saw earlier, became 2ke is equals to what? mv squared. Right? See, the rest becomes so easy because we know that this m is multiplying v. So if I want to get rid of this m over here, since it's multiplying, then the inverse of that will be division. So then I'm going to say divide through by m. You see? So if that is the case, now our equation that says 2ke is equals to mv squared. Now we're going to divide both sides by m. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so we divide here the left with m by m and the right by m. So you see that now we can get rid of the v. We can get rid of the m so that the v can stand on its own. So we cancel m and m. You see, then our equation says that the 2ke divided by m is equals to what? V squared. You see, we haven't finished. Because the purpose within which we're asked to solve the question says we should make v this subject, but not v squared. So what do? As we know that when an element or variable is squared, that means before we can let this value over here to go, we have to halve both sides. So we got to take square root to both sides to get rid of the v squared. So we say take square root to both sides of the equation. So take square root to both sides. Okay, to both sides of the equation. Okay, so what do we have? We have our 2ke divided by m, and this goes to a v squared. So when I take square root of that here, I do the same to the left. Okay, we know that when we take square root of v squared, we get v. That will be equal to this. So our equation now is 2ke over m. So that is the answer. So therefore we can confidently say that v is equal to square root of 2ke all over m as the change of subject. Look, friends, this is becoming so easy. Okay, as we saw earlier, you know, the first one, the whole question given was ke is equal to half mv squared. Then so with our purpose to make m the subject of the equation, so with the equation ke, we realize that this, okay, ke is equal to half mv squared over here. We realize that this half is multiplying m and is multiplying by v squared. Well, we wanted to get rid of the fraction, so we multiplied through by 2. When we did that, as we know, into every equation, what we do to the left, we got to do the same on the right. So we multiply the left by 2 and the right by 2. You see, what did we get? We had 2ke, and the 2 cancel each other, and we have mv squared. Now, what did we do? We say we are interested of making m the subject. Therefore, you see, m over here is multiplying the v squared. So to get rid of the v squared, so that m can stand on its own, v squared is multiplying m. So the inverse of that is division. So that's why we decided to divide both sides by v squared. So that's when we did that, to both sides, you see that the v squared cancels v squared. Therefore, our equation became 2k over v squared equals to m. That is the change of subject. In the same vein, when we go to the situation where we got to make v the subject, we decide to rewrite our equation. And we saw earlier that when we multiply both sides of the equation by the half to kill the fraction, this is the resultant. We have 2ke and is equals to mv squared. Okay, so that's where we continue from. Now we want to get rid of the m, because m is multiplying v squared. So to get rid of the m, the inverse of that multiplication will be division. So that's what we decided to divide through by m. So see, we divide the left hand side by m and the right hand side by m. As the adage go into every equation, what you do to the left, you got to do to the right. So we have 2ke over m, then v squared stand on its own. But our interest was on v, but not v squared. So what do? We take a square root to both sides of the equation. So that the v squared, when you take the square root of v squared, that gives us v. Alright? And this gets us 2ke equals to m. So eventually, you know, what is the situation? The situation here now is our change of subject. Okay? Our change of subject has come to play. How has it come to play? Okay, because we haven't been able to make the v the subject of the equation. So this, you see, the v is the change of the subject we've made over here. So friends, that is one of the beautiful things we've seen today with this equation. Now we are not going to get scared of anything we see, because we know that it's such a general principle that we have to apply when we see questions of this sort. Now, I think we'll say goodbye for now, and please subscribe and also click on the ring on the bell, so that you know when you'll be the first person to receive our next tutorial. Bye.